Good evening, everyone. The time is now 6:06 p.m., and I will call to order this hybrid public meeting. It is November 6th, 2024, and my name is Julie Bond, and I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. Regular meetings and public hearings of the Clark County Historic Preservation Commission are held in a hybrid format with both in-person and virtual participation options for commissioners, staff, and the public. This will allow for safe participation by commission members, staff, and any citizen interested in attending. For those of you joining via computer, you should be able to see tonight's meeting agenda on your screen. If you can't see the screen and have joined by phone only, I will be announcing the agenda items as we move through the meeting topics. Members of the public and applicants that have joined remotely are attendees. Other event participants cannot hear your audio unless you are acknowledged by the commission chair or staff and are unmuted. This evening's agenda is planned as follows: roll call and introductions, prior meeting notes approval, public comment for subjects other than public hearings on this meeting's agenda, as there will be specific public comment periods as part of hearings, updates from partner organizations, public hearing for the Stanger House Certificate of Appropriateness, Historic Promotion Grants Update, Old Business, Commission Announcements and Events, Subcommittee Updates, Good of the Order, and Adjournment. We will now have a roll call of the HPC members who are present for this meeting. Commission members, please say I'm here after I call your name. Jan Bader.
Here.
Morgan Fraser.
Here.
Andy Gregg.
Here.
Heidi Mandler Huff is excused. Elaine Thatcher.
Here.
John Zingali.
Present. Here.
And I am Julie Bond, and I am present. First on our agenda are meeting notes approval. We have the October 2nd meeting notes to approve this evening. Does anyone have any comments on the draft meeting notes from October 2nd meeting?
I think my name was spelled wrong in one paragraph. Sorry, I have to pull it up real quick here.
No, we got that.
You got it?
Yes. Thank you and sorry.
No problem.
Any other comments or suggested changes? Okay. Okay, I will take a motion for approval of the October 2nd meeting notes.
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those not in favor say no. Okay, the motion passes. We will now take public comment on any items outside of public hearing items. We'll begin with attendees in the room, if there are any. Please approach the microphone if you would like to make a comment. And I know that there were some people in the room, but I don't believe there were any comments.
No, there's a observer present, and then there is a gentleman who wanted to make a comment about the Stanger House item.
Okay, so we do have someone in the room to make that comment.
Yeah, but not for the general comments right now.
Got it. I see. Okay, thank you. So we will now take public comment from online attendees. Susan, can you please read the instructions?
Yes, if you're using a computer or the WebEx application on a mobile device, if you would like to make a comment, Bart will bring up the instructions on the screen in just a moment. There we go. For anyone on the telephone, audio only, please dial *3 on your phone's number panel to raise your hand. Please note public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person in order to accommodate all speakers. And I do not see any raised hands.
Thank you. This concludes the general public comment portion of this meeting. We will now hear any updates from our partner organizations. We will begin with our regular updates from the Historic Trust. I will turn the mic over to Holly Chamberlain.
Holly, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry, a little tech difficulty there. Good evening, commissioners, staff, and guests. At Providence Academy, the Providence pilgrimages have concluded for 2024. Approximately 318 employees of the Health Network toured the Academy this past year. This past October marked the highest ever monthly event venue rental revenue ever. Rentals really help support building stewardship and connect thousands of people to the Academy every year. Painter Phil Emmerling, who provided faux painting for the Academy Chapel and Providence Hall in 2019, returned to touch up damage to the faux marbling on the cast iron columns in Providence Hall. They are looking wonderful again. On Officers Row and the West Barracks, recent preservation and maintenance tasks on the Row and in the West Barracks have included repair of a large sunroom window at the Red Cross building by Trust staff carpenter Adrian Borshin, along with paint touch-ups there. Interior walkway repairs continue, with a new phase of grinding just finished. Deck board and siding repairs have been completed on buildings 3, 4, 5, 10, 14, and 16. Seasonal HVAC improvements and repairs, including the filter changes of the furnaces, have been finished, along with the annual fire inspections and the painting of the 5 westernmost buildings of Officers Row. The annual fall tree trimming was completed in time for attendees enjoying the joint Urban Forestry Trust Officers Row Tree and History Walking Tour in October. The next tour is scheduled for June 25th next year, but now is a beautiful time to walk down the row as the leaves have really turned colors. A summary history of the infantry barracks has been added to the collection of information the Trust shares with attendees of leasing, open houses, and renters. A new roof has been installed on the 1986 gazebo in the Evergreen Arboretum, and paint touch-ups completed. Funding was provided by the Community Foundation for Southwest Washington. In terms of the general site, summer is over. All the patio umbrellas have been taken down for the season and are washed to be ready for next year. Leasing staff have moved into a second phase of implementing the new property management software. The expanded usage is for leases and lease renewals. Comments are underway for the IBR DSCIS for both the Historic Reserve and the Academy. Concern continues for the no adverse effect finding for the Academy. Nominations for the 2025 General George C. Marshall Youth and Adult Leadership Awards are open until December 2nd, 2024. Public programs have attracted very good attendance this fall. These include those presented in partnership with Humanities Washington. The Trust is grateful for the grant funding it has received from the agency. Upcoming this month is Stomp and Shout, the Untold Story of Northwest Rock and Roll. On Thursday, November 14th, the free program presented by speaker Peter Blesha runs from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Red Cross Building at 605 Barnes Street. Sponsored by Umpqua Bank and promotional partner NAACP Vancouver Chapter. Come to the Fort Vancouver National Site next Monday, November 11th, rain or shine, for the 36th Annual Low Legacy Veterans Day Parade. The parade begins at 11 a.m. and has about 75 entries. Santa comes to the Marshall House on December 7th from 9 to 3. The first hour is reserved for children who need a quieter environment for their visit. Fewer people will be in the building, and sounds and stimuli will be restrained. Registration for the free program starts on November 18th on the Trust website, and you can find information about all of the programs on the Trust website. Thank you very much.
Nice report, Holly.
Thank you, Holly. Susan, do we have any other partner groups that wish to speak?
Do not see any other raised hands.
Okay. This concludes the partner updates portion of this meeting. We will now move on to new business. Next, we will begin a public hearing for a certificate of appropriateness for the Stanger House. Before I open this public hearing, I want to provide notice of a continuance under RCW 42.30.100 to inform the public that this hearing will be opened at this meeting and continued at the next regular meeting of the HPC on December 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. This is to allow the commissioners adequate time to review additional information that has been requested from the applicant. Additional information provided to the commissioners on this application will be added to the record for the continued hearing on December 4th and will be available for the public to review on the Historic Preservation Commission meetings website. Also, I ask that the commissioners to not make any statements or ask any substantive questions about the application at this time, because that discussion will occur at the next meeting when all commissioners are fully informed. However, the commission will open the hearing to allow any members of the public who are here in person or online to make their comments part of the record in case they are not available to attend the December 4th hearing. The record will remain open, and the commission will permit members of the public to testify on this matter at the December 4th continued public hearing. With that, I will now open this hybrid online public hearing for a certificate of appropriateness application for proposed exterior improvements at the Stanger House. The steps involved in the hearing process are shown on the slide. Okay. Okay. Do any commission members have any ex parte contacts, or conflicts of interest?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you. Hearing none. City staff can now offer any comments they have.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jason Nortz, the City of Vancouver Development Review Manager. I'll just elaborate a little bit on what Julie said. Due to some last-minute requests for information, I know Julie had mentioned from the applicant, but it's more from staff needing to get some additional information on our end and working with the applicant to do that, given the late hour that request came about, and recognizing that you needed sufficient time to review that information before tonight's meeting. We decided it would be best that we continue this item until the December 4th HPC meeting. So that's essentially where we are at. And I am also just filling in for Mark Person, who is the project manager on this project, but was unable to attend tonight due to another work-related conflict. So that concludes my staff report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, I'm going to skip down to opening the public comment period related specifically to the certificate of appropriateness application. Since we have asked the commission not to ask questions at this time, we will move to that public comment. Please note that if you wish to retain the ability to be a party of record on this matter, or to challenge or defend any decision made on this matter, please state and spell your name and provide your mailing address or email address for the record. Staff will now provide instructions on how to make a public comment for those joining us through their computer or mobile device, and for those joining by telephone. Susan?
Is there anyone new online, Susan?
We do have 2 people online, so I will, we have a new person online as well. So if you are using a computer or the WebEx application on a mobile device, if you would like to make a comment, please raise your virtual hand. There are instructions on how to do this on the screen. For anyone on the telephone audio only option, please dial *3 on your phone's number panel to raise your hand. Please note public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person in order to accommodate all speakers. And I do not see any raised hands. Holly Chamberlain has her hand up, but I believe that's left over from the partner comments. Holly, could you let us know if you're Oh, okay. Yes, Holly put her hand down and I do not see any other raised hands.
Okay, thank you, Susan. As I said before, we have one gentleman in the room, so he's going to make his comment now.
Thank you.
This is Kelly Putney, 807 East Reserve, Vancouver, Washington. Thank you, commissioners, for taking the time to listen to me tonight. I'm here basically to give the support to our working volunteers of the Stanger House. Rob Seaman and group, his team have done an amazing job of working with you on this project, and I want to continue to give them the kind of support that the board appreciates their work and the work that they're doing with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here and for that public comment.
There's no one else in the room to make a public comment, Chair Bone.
Okay. All right. And all right, thank you. So I will now accept a motion to continue this hearing until the December 4th meeting. Please say your name when making a motion and second so staff can capture it for the record.
It's Andy Gregg. I move that we continue this hearing.
Until December 4th.
Commissioner Fraser will second that.
Andy Gregg makes the motion and Morgan Fraser seconded it. Susan, will you please take a roll call to vote to approve this motion?
Jan Bader,
Aye.
Julie Bond,
Yes.
Morgan Fraser,
Aye.
Elaine Thatcher,
Aye.
John Zingali,
Aye.
Andy Gregg. 6 in favor.
The motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Next in new business, Bart will provide an update on the Historical Promotion Grant application review.
Thank you all. 1 second. As we talked about last meeting, it had been my intent to have the full recommendation staff memo ready to go at this meeting. Other workload items intervened, and the unexpected complexity of the applications that we got has made it harder, more time consuming to put them together. So they're not ready for this meeting. I'm endeavoring to get that to the review subcommittee in the next few days. And I think that there is opportunity to have everything approved before the end of the year still. So again, we always seem to get a little crunched with these, and I apologize. So I don't have anything substantive for you folks this evening, but we will definitely very soon. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bart. Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff regarding this?
Thanks, Bart, for your update.
Okay, I don't see any hands, so I will go ahead and move to old business. So first, Susan will provide us with a brief budget update and conference attendance updates.
So I don't know that I have a lot of new information this evening. We still have an estimate of just over $6,000 that will be left after the estimated Pass Forward conference expenses. And I know that Commissioner Fraser is going to get together with city staff and following her attendance at Pass Forward and turn in her expenses. And so once that happens, we expect there to be about $6,000 left And just happy to answer any questions if you have any questions.
Yeah, that leads us really into our second point, which is a discussion on what we should do with the surplus funding of tentatively $6,180. I know that we had turned over some ideas to the outreach group, so perhaps they have identified some areas where we can use the remaining budget for some outreach activities. I'm going to ask if any of them or any other commissioners have ideas or thoughts about what we should do at this point.
Andy,
I'm going to call on you since you're
Andy,
the
you
lead
wanna
of,
talk
I
about it?
believe. Yeah,
I hear John.
go ahead, John.
Well, I believe at the last meeting we were talking about making sure we have a nice tent and a table with maybe some chairs and getting our maps and everything, so that when we're other events are going on, we can just kind of like pop up and travel to different events rather than putting on our own like we were talking about. This makes it more flexible so that if we wanted to show up at like Esther Short or at a Saturday market, we can do that. Or if Brad is doing something at the museum and we want to, and they're offered a table or something, we can then have one or two commissioners show up, and so it makes us a little bit more nimble and be able to show what we do and how people can leverage what we do and the work we do. So I believe that's where we were leaving things, and we were looking to see how much like cost would be for printing certain things.
And the graphic that I just put up, I'm not going to take credit for it. Susan was able to procure this. What do we know what company this is from, Susan?
Yeah, so there's a company that the city of Vancouver has worked with previously. They're called International Graphics and Nameplate, and they're a local business. And I talked to them about some of the ideas, and you can see some ballpark pricing. Obviously, there's lots of things to choose from and different setups, but this gives you an idea of some possibilities for some of the things that John was talking about with a canopy, a tablecloth with a logo printed on it. There's many different options for if we want some sort of sign that would be like a tabletop. These are all tabletop signs. We could possibly also have a sign that would, go next to the canopy. So it really depends on what you're interested in. The only thing that I will note is that right now, when I was talking to the gentleman, he said that there's definitely enough time to get stuff before the end of the year, because if we order anything, physical goods have to be received before December 31st. And so we're fine with timing now. He was a little bit concerned about making sure we would get everything if we waited until the December meeting. And so I would suggest that maybe with the subcommittee, if, based on your discussion this evening, maybe with the subcommittee, we could move forward before the December meeting so that we're sure to get the goods before the end of the year.
Excellent. Thanks to the subcommittee and thanks, Susan. So I think we should open it for discussion. I think these are excellent options for us to use with our budget. I think we'll still have remaining budget looking at these prices. I don't know what the total would be if we put this whole package together, what would be remaining, but I'm interested to hear what the other commissioners think.
Let's see. I don't know what a magnetic receptive backer is. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying that, Jan.
The rest
So
of it's pretty self-explanatory.
the disposable print with easel back, the retractable banner, and the magnetic receptive backer with changeable magnetic covers are all options for tabletop kind of signs that would have either information you wanted to show or just the logo or, you know, I mostly talked to him about the magnetic thing because it's pretty good pricing. And the idea is that you could have those magnetic covers at $50 to $75 printed up. Maybe, you know, I was thinking of things that you've done recently. So maybe there's one for students at, you know, geared towards History Day. Maybe there's a magnetic cover geared toward, Bart, what's the activity you do every year with,
Leadership, Clark
Yeah.
County.
right, Leadership Clark County? You could have different things that, and all you got to do is, you know, put them on the backer.
I don't know if Andy and John have time to have a quick meeting here, and I would be fine with whatever they want to order of these materials for outreach.
Yeah, I'm pretty open too. I just, I'm looking at the pricing and, like even if we spent, a lot of money, that's only, a couple $1,000 and, you're talking about a surplus of $6,000. So it sounds like the bigger thing is, yes, approving this kind of things that we've talked about, but also what are we going to do with the rest of this money in the next, 7 weeks?
Yeah. And going back to your point, Susan, about the magnetic covers, would we need to, or would a subcommittee or someone need to put together the graphics for them? Like, how would we know kind of what, like if we're tailoring them to different events? We want one also, I think, just for just general consumption, just general information and things that we could highlight about the commission that will be long lasting for years.
Yeah.
So would that be something the subcommittee would have to decide? Or how would those kind of things come together? There are some
So-
details here that they'd have to work on.
Yeah, there's a couple, if the subcommittee wanted to come up with something specific, that's a possibility. We do have a graphic designer that works for the county, although I have to admit, I talked to her today about another project and she's super busy. So I don't know if that would happen before the end of the year or not. But for $75 an hour, this business also has graphic designers and they can help with design of materials as well. And they said usually, depending on what it is, but usually it's between an hour and 2 hours to design materials.
I mean, and if Andy needs to meet, like I'm kind of free-ish right now. I have some time the next couple of days, and maybe next week too, to meet to finalize anything.
Is Friday
John-
looking
John,
good?
I don't think this matter really needs to have a great deal of discussion. We could
No.
probably authorize the expenditure of the funds, given the parameters that have been described already.
True, but I do think it makes sense for y'all to meet, decide how many, and kind of hash out the details.
Yeah,
Like
how many
they're doing it
how
here.
many of these magnetic covers and
Yeah.
what are the messages that you want to get out there?
I think HPC rules would be a good one.
Yeah, we could.
The whole document in magnetic?
This is Elaine. I'm also.
Well, Susan, I mean,
think
we
Elaine's
have
trying
our
to say
little,
something, but
we
she's
have our logo, so I don't know.
I think
Elaine, we're
Elaine is
having
trying to
trouble
speak.
hearing you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry about that. I was saying that I am also available on Friday for the outreach committee to get together and discuss items and messaging and cost, if we're all available for that. Were you able to hear me any better?
Yes,
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
that sounds great.
I will coordinate a meeting for Friday for the 3 plus me.
Thank you. And then back to the other point of once you guys have identified how much you think you'll need out of that 6,000, we do need to identify how we will spend the remaining budget. So given your concern earlier, Susan, that, purchasing items, it may be cutting it too close to have those discussions in December. Would it, I don't know, I think we've had discussions on a variety of different things to purchase and services to acquire. I think we need to have a plan B after we know what these costs are of how we can spend the remaining budget. Does anyone have ideas or suggestions, or if we have that number, if we want, Susan, if you want to reach out to the group, I don't know exactly how to be most efficient to identify some things we can use with that remaining money.
Yeah, it would be great if we had ideas this evening. But yes, happy to reach out with whatever, if we meet on Friday and then come up with a total, can reach out with the total pricing.
Susan, this is Bart. You didn't happen to ask them about any clothing items like T-shirts or hats or anything, did you?
I did not. They do all of that kind of stuff, so I'm sure that we could get T-shirts or whatever. Certainly name tags. They do name tags and that kind of thing too.
Would anyone be interested in swag?
It's not that I'm not interested in swag, but I'm also more, I'm hearing, and we've said this before, and I know that people thought that there wasn't enough time, but Bart, it just seems like you're really overloaded, and it seems like, you need some help, like I'd love to throw the money, to get you some help, so you're not so overloaded,
Oh, that's a bigger question, Morgan. I mean, it's a order of magnitude to get another employee in our department, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's just we got this money, especially from the city, to do something really proactive, and I'm just I'm a little bummed that we get to November every year to talk about the surplus of the budget, and I just get a little bummed because we have all year to spend it, and we always, in my honest opinion, get down to this last wire, and it's just, I find it a little unfortunate. We still have this backlog of, scanning that we want to have done and all of these things, and but then we get this money and now we don't know what to do with it, and I get a little depressed about that it gets so late in the game.
I concur with Commissioner Frazier. I was wondering if there would be some utility in coming up with some printed material, perhaps in support of National History Day, that says something like Clark County Historic Preservation Commission supports the folks who are on the register, that could be displayed in places, maybe in windows along Main Street, saying in the historic overlay district that we could ask
Maybe
merchants,
highlighting the district at all,
We could have a card in a merchant's window, much like an old lobby card in the movie days, that says Clark County Historic Preservation Commission appreciates merchants and professionals who have their businesses along the preservation district. And if we printed up a bunch of those and they appeared in windows, not only would it support our constituency, but it would also give a visual notice that Clark County Historic Preservation Commission is active in these places, not just in downtown Vancouver core, but in places like Camas and Ridgefield and Battleground and Yakult and Amboy. And it kind of shows
that idea.
It shows the flag But it also supports our constituency.
I like that, Andy, and I also like the idea of maybe getting a little bit more information printed up. In particular, I went to this conference and I met with several city planners from huge cities, you know, and it would be really good to get some information out there. Number one, about how much the reuse of buildings helps reduce carbon. That's one thing that's really important, I think, to get out there. And then another thing is that, you know, I don't think people really understand the tax credits that are available to them. We have a great website, and if you go to it and you read it, it's really wonderful. The website committee has just done a fantastic job, you know, but maybe getting some of that information out there also, so that when we're tabling, whether it's at the museum or a different kind of event, or and especially at National History Day, so we have this kind of material maybe pre-printed out, and that might, like you said, be a really good use of some of the funds. I think the outreach committee is on a roll.
This would also be a nice outreach if commissioners would wander into these businesses and introduce themselves as members of the Clark County Historic Preservation Commission and saying, your business is located within the Historic Overlay District. And it would be, it would amount to free advertising for the business owners and another connection to our mission.
I have a quick question for the subcommittee. We had discussed hosting an event where we would invite the pretty much the property owners, the people who are leasing these buildings down in the overlay, invite the VDA, partner with them. Have you done any outreach to Michael to see if we could host that kind of an event with some of this budget?
Well,
No,
we
had
can.
said that so that we also targeted those things that Morgan just brought up, which is the tax incentives and all these various things that we talk about almost every meeting.
Yeah,
Just curious.
we decided to not, as far as I can remember from last meeting, is not to go with that because there wasn't enough time to put something together this year. And so I think we kind of just like let it go, because there was not
Okay.
not gonna be enough time to try to put something together, and we didn't want to step on toes. So we decided that it would be better to get all the stuff that we can have, like the table and the awning, so that we can be more nimble and plug into other people's events that were already set up.
Okay.
I think if we think about next year, a goal for next year might be, Julie, is to do exactly that and get that, event going. But I think just with the timing and everything, there wasn't going to be, I don't think it was
Just start
gonna be
earlier.
successful.
Yeah, I gotcha. One other
Yeah,
thought.
I
and
like that
wanted to
idea, and I also like the idea of partnering maybe with, if we do something next year, partnering with somebody like the Friends of the Stanger House, you know, and doing something when the weather's nice. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be downtown, but, you know, maybe highlighting one of the successes of our city and county.
Morgan's concern is of the essence because frequently we do get down to the end of a fiscal year and have a surplus of resources, and then just think of a way to expend them. I would like to suggest that on our January agenda, if we have a meeting in January, but early in 2025, to be more purposeful about our budgetary expenditures. And if we identify some initiatives that we would like to pursue early on, then when we get to November, we can applaud ourselves and say, we really took good stewardship of the available resources and spent them in a way that promotes the Historic Preservation Commission's mission, as well as provided a bona fide service to our constituents.
I wanted to ask Bart and Susan and the rest, but want to get your guidance. If we wanted to support some of our historic preservation partners with the remaining budget, could we do so? If we wanted to say, provide funding to initiatives that are being implemented at the museum or with any of our other partners that have a need, would that be something we could do with this budget if we do not identify other things in addition to what we've already discussed today?
Chair Bond, are you thinking about maybe augmenting the disbursement to the speakers sessions at the
They
museum?
have so many activities that, I mean, I think that we would even just leave it up. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing it out there that, they always have need, right? There's always a need for funding at the various partners that we have. So if we were able to say, if we could identify, okay, we have $4,000 left or $3,000 left, just, find out if our partners have a specific need that they're looking for funding, or if we can just simply provide them with funding for their historic preservation efforts. I don't know if that's legit. I'm assuming it would be, but I just wanted to ask and see what other people think, because we don't want this money to go to waste if we can't identify something else that we can use it for.
So Jason is also online, and I will defer to him because this is city budget.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. I was going to chime in anyways. Yeah, the money would have to be spent, distributed, spent this year. If it isn't, then you cannot do that.
I thought so.
If you
Okay.
if you reached out to the trust and the couple historic museums and said, we have $500 available. Do you have a project we could support?
Yeah.
And they send you a
Even
letter.
some of the smaller museums, maybe, like the La
Yeah.
Center Historical Museum, or some of the smaller museums that maybe don't get as much
Two Rivers.
attention,
Mhm.
or like Two Rivers. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think we'd be able to do a blanket donation, but I think if they have a specific project that they're requesting funds from us for, and they send a letter, thanking us for the $500 for X specific project, I think you can do that.
And Jan, to piggyback on what you just said, I was wondering if there were any unfulfilled grant requests.
Yeah, I don't know. Not involved with that.
Right, but I'm thinking if there were partially funded grants that were requested, this might be an opportunity to say, because of a budget surplus, we're in a position to fund the requested amount that we were not fully able to provide to the organization earlier.
They'd have to expend the funds, so I'm not sure which projects that would work for.
Okay.
But we will check with budget tomorrow morning as far as both the city and the county budget folks, and make sure that we know the process for dispersing donation type funds to partner organizations.
I don't know that you want to commingle sources of grant funding, but yeah, I guess ask the budget office.
If it's legit, I'm just saying this might be an opportunity to help applicants who previously were denied full funding.
One additional thing I think is worth pointing out is your budget this year was increased by $5,000. It will not be next year. It'll go back to its $10,000 annual budget. So it may, not that necessarily matters, but we might not have as difficult time spending a $10,000 budget versus a $15,000 budget, for what it's worth.
Thanks. I think it's also challenging because a lot of our conferences that we attend are at the end of the year. And we often anticipate a certain number of people being able to attend, and then life occurs and we have cancellations, and then we have money left over. So I think there's a lot of factors. But it sounds like if it's acceptable, once we've spent what we feel we need, it sounds like, on these outreach materials, which I think is fabulous. And thanks again, you guys, for putting this together and researching that. Then whatever we have left over, it seems worthwhile to reach out to our various partners and just ask, Jan mentioned, have them be specific. We're doing this project, we're implementing it this time frame, and we could use this much funding. And then we could see if that fits within our ability to provide the funding. I mean, is that acceptable to the rest of you? Does that sound like a good plan?
I mean, I think about the museums and they always need like curation materials, the special boxes to store things. And I mean, they're always looking for money for those kinds of things that you can have a really quick turnaround on.
Yeah, and just to note that the museum did take on, not a huge ask, but they did take on the ask of housing both the city's photographs and the when the county catches up, the county's photographs for the demolition permits. So that is something that they took on for us as an ask. So I don't know how that could we could maybe give some money to that project. Yeah, give the money to that project, whatever that project would need. I don't, I'm not in that close communication with Brad on that project right now.
So it's my understanding he didn't need, I think what he was looking for was more of a certain type of photo that would be received from the applicant. And I think what we decided on is we weren't willing to require the applicants to provide that level of photography. So we're just housing the images that they take on a regular camera, and we're keeping those for a certain period of time before we then disperse those over to the historical museum. We're still trying to figure out the best way to do that, but so I don't know what additional equipment or resources they would need to take that on. I'm assuming not much, but maybe I'm misunderstanding.
And again, because we have such a short time frame, I think we need to let whichever partner organizations we're going to make a donation to tell us what their needs are.
Yeah, I agree with Jen. I think if we can get some support from staff to do some outreach to them to kind of make that generic request so we can see who responds, and then we can identify how we could spend their surplus if there is some, assuming there is.
Absolutely. I have Two Rivers, La Center. I wrote down North County. Obviously, we know we would want the main museum into the conversation, although you talked about the smaller museums. What else am I not thinking of as far as the institutions?
Would we include the trust as well? I know they're a larger organization, so I don't know if we really want to focus on the smaller, but just putting that out there.
I mean, on the website, we have a whole list of.
Yeah, we do. I was just going to that. We have 78th Street Heritage Farm. We have the grist mill. We have there's a whole list.
That's what I'm getting at. I have that list. I have that list too. And I mean, I guess the fairest thing would be to send the same message to everybody, but then we're in a situation where we're picking and
we're not making
choosing.
promises. We're just getting information, I think, right? I mean, that's my intention. I would imagine we would want to have the message be we may have some surplus funding. We'd like to know if you have projects that will be completed this calendar year, that we could support and how much you would need. And then once we got that information, then we could just figure out what we had to offer.
Because say we only get 4 emails back, right? And then we have the funds to cover it, we just cover it. But, obviously if we get more, then we'd have to maybe sit down and figure that out. But if we send that out now and we say we need this by this date so it can be included in our next meeting, I think that sounds fair.
Right.
You need a letter of request, and I think you need to give them a dollar amount because you don't want to leave it open-ended.
Hmm.
So I think,
An under amount or something.
well, after Friday, when you know what you need to spend on the outreach materials, let's just say you've got, I don't know, $2,000 left. So you tell them all that we have up to $200 per organization. What would you spend it on? Or,
Yeah, I
do you
think
have a project that this could go towards before the end of the year?
right. And make it clear it has to be spent by that time frame. Otherwise, we aren't able to distribute.
Good point.
I think that's a good plan of action. I'm seeing a nodding of a head, and we've had some good discussion.
Yeah.
Elaine, I don't want to forget
2
about you.
thumbs
I
up.
don't know if you want to say. I don't know if you want to say anything, Elaine. I don't want to call you out, but I also don't want to forget about you because I can't see your pretty face.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, Julie. I think this is all a great idea, and I look forward to speaking with the subcommittee on Friday and seeing what plan we can come up with for funds and how much we would be reaching out to donate to other organizations.
Perfect. All right. Thank you guys. Thanks everybody very much. Okay, if we are good on that, I'm going to move to the next agenda item, keep us going. So the next and third item for old business is discussing the cleanup of our listings and the file update project. And to be clear, my understanding of this is we have, all these different properties on our register, but our listings are a little haphazard. And so there's a project underway at the moment to clean that up and to get that organized so that it's accessible to all. There were 3 of us that volunteered our time, if possible, to do this. This is the right project, right? Am I speaking to the right one, Bart?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is I guess this on our agenda is to confirm that you can use our services, our time, our resources to help with this project and to maybe coordinate a offline conversation for us to work it out logistically of how we're going to coordinate ourselves. I know I volunteered, Morgan did, and so did Elaine. Is that still doable for Morgan and Elaine to help with this?
So far, I have been activated for FEMA, and I could be leaving in 2 weeks. But I don't know yet, so I'm still available.
Okay. And if you're not, that's okay. We understand. We'll pick it up. Aileen, how about yourself? Are you still on board with potentially helping with this project?
Yes, I am still on board. I look forward to discussing a time with everyone and seeing when works best. And of course, FEMA, takes priority. So if it ends up being Julie and I, that's also great too.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. So I don't know. I believe Bart, you were chairing kind of this project, but I could be wrong. If that's the case, is that you that we would be working
It's ended up that Susan and I are kind of
together
partnering on it because
Okay.
we both need to be on the same page with what goes on in the department. And I think after our big hearing that we're getting ready for on the 21st of this month, things will open up for me. I can't speak for Susan, but I would definitely like to get you guys activated, to use the word that you just used, in the either the very end of this month or the beginning of December.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, we're here and ready to help and learn how you have set up your systems and get started with them. So we'll defer to you to set up a time with us.
We'll
I guess,
probably
to get
just
us
have
started.
we'll probably just have to choose something on the calendar where people aren't on vacation and just go for it.
Okay. Well, is it possible? I know you said you have this big project that happens on the 21st. Would it be possible to just have an initial discussion about what's required prior to FEMA potentially taking Morgan away? to do that in the next week or two, just to get us on the same page. Doesn't mean we'll have to start working on it necessarily, but so we understand what it will require. If that
Of
works, then
course.
maybe that's a good starting point, and then we can figure out, when we'll actually begin.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I won't bore people with me going through my Outlook calendar at the moment, but let's
You'll just share it with us.
let's
another
do that.
time.
Let's do that before the end of the week. That's a good idea, Julie.
Okay. Thank you. And thanks to Morgan, Elaine, Susan, you, Bart, for getting us. I'm looking forward to getting this done. Okay. So now we are on to our next portion of the meeting, which is commission announcements and events. And so now, if anyone on the commission has any announcements or events that they would like to alert us all of, the floor is yours. I can just look at your faces and see if you have any hands raised or anything like that. Bear with me while I scroll. Okay. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. I have a couple of small announcements. There was a call that came out to all of us from the Climate Project Community Workshop. It was a woman by the name of Jenna Kay. And she had asked, I think Bart had forwarded it to us, asking if anybody would be able to volunteer for it's called Climate Project Community Workshop, Greenhouse Gas Reduction. They basically just need volunteers to help facilitate some workshop discussions. And it's from 8:30 to 11 on Saturday, November 16th. So if anyone's interested in that email should be in your inbox. And that's an opportunity for us to volunteer and get ourselves out there. The other one that I wanted to mention was that on the 30th of October, there was a public hearing regarding the Schofield building and the owner's request for a demolition that did occur. And I would like to propose that the commission write a letter to the City of Vancouver Building and Fire Code Commission about our concerns regarding the Schofield building. And I wanted to see if anyone would like to partner with me to draft something on behalf of the commission. I have some thoughts already put into paper, so I anticipate it shouldn't take too long, but I would really appreciate some other commissioners interested to help me with that.
Farabon, I'd be delighted to help you with that.
And Julie, my schedule is kind of, I don't know what's going on, but I might have some free time in the next 2 weeks here to do something too.
Okay, great. All right, I will reach out to.
I think we need to hear from either Jason or the city attorney about this, because the fire and building code, because I went to the meeting, they delayed making a decision on that building because the applicant hadn't submitted all of the information that the committee needs to make the decision. But it will come back to the Historic Preservation Commission. It's likely it will come back in front of us. So I don't know if we're where we are on the line, if we're writing a letter to another commission about this. So I think we need to hear from the city attorney.
Or from
Good
Jason.
point.
Or
A
Jason.
fair point, Jan, but Julie, count me in when the time comes.
Okay, because my understanding was that based on the decision, we could be circumvented altogether and we may not actually have any option to provide comment. And in the past, when we had the concerns about the smokestack and the other buildings, we did draft a letter as a commission and provided that. But you're right, Jan, I may be getting out of order in terms of how events are happening. I see Elaine's hand up. Elaine, why don't we go to you first, and then Jason, if you don't mind providing comment on if that's an acceptable way forward for us to at least get our voices heard around this issue, or if we do need to wait until a future meeting. So Elaine, go ahead.
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, I was just going to ask Jason if he could give some clarity on timelines and, if we could be circumvented or if it would be, or coming back to us no matter what their decision.
Sure, and I want to be careful here about what we say since this isn't, discussing something that might in the future be coming back to you. So essentially, and this, I will be discussing this in the process in greater detail, not specifically related to the Schofield building, but the demo processes you've been asking for overall at the December meeting, and how the demolition process works. Because the building owner made an unfit request of the building official, it tracks a completely different course than it would if it were going before you as a typical demolition in the heritage overlay. So we are following the municipal code that outlines the process for which that needs to follow. That meeting happened last week, and I want to be clear, it's not a request for a demolition. It's a request to make a determination of unfit, which then the building official will determine if the building is going, to be demolished or repaired and demolished or whatever the outcome might be. But this is the first step in the process that needs to happen per the steps outlined in the code for the unfit building process. So that meeting happened last week. It was essentially continued because we need more information from the applicant, which we don't have to make an informed decision at this point. So the ball is in the applicant's court to get us additional information regarding finances and structural engineering reports, you name it. But we're waiting on that. And once we have that, we'll reconvene the Building and Fire Code Commission. And after we have, I guess, direction from them, the building official will determine what the next steps will be. Going back to the smokestack and the boiler laundry building, similar process. You may recall that your comments that you provided were in the context of the environmental review document that they needed to do in order to do the demolition. So we convened a special meeting during the public comment period for the environmental review, where you provided us your comments as well as a list of mitigation measures that you'd like to see incorporated as part of the loss of those structures due to demolition. So that's where that public meeting occurred as it relates to this. I don't know which direction the Schofield building is going at this point, so I can't really comment on that beyond what I've shared in terms of process, but I will be elaborating on the overall demolition process with the help of Tricia at the meeting in December, so we can answer more specific questions about how buildings track down the various demolition processes outlined in the code.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep.
So I guess,
So just to,
to go back
sorry,
to the question, is it appropriate for the commission to send a letter to the Building and Fire Code Commission for their consideration at their next meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. You already, I believe a couple of you did previously, and if you wanted to do that as one unified board or commission, I don't see a problem with that, but I will double check with Tricia and I will let you know.
okay, yeah, because we did as private citizens, not as commissioners. And so this would be more like the commission response.
This is Tricia, and I think it would be appropriate for the commission to decide to send a letter, so long as that's something that the commission determines in a public meeting and votes on to make sure that everyone agrees. Generally, a letter like that is going to be sent by the chair of the commission or the president, depending on. Here we have, I believe, the chair. So, so long as it's discussed and then agreed to, then that would be appropriate. But it is true that when you are commenting individually, you are in your individual capacity.
Thank you, Tricia. That's really helpful. Thank you for being here. Okay, great. So John and Andy, I will reach out to you to begin, and then I think it's something we'll share with the commissioners once we have a draft to get people's input. And Elaine, go ahead.
Thanks, Julie and Tricia. Just to clarify the process, would we create a draft separately and then present it in a public meeting, or does the letter itself need to be created in a public meeting before signing off of it and sending it off?
So, no decisions, no quorum can occur, no decisions can be made outside of a public meeting. But if a small group of people that do not create a quorum, therefore do not create a meeting of the commission, like any committee that you might have, meet and draft something and then present it at the meeting, then you're able to discuss it in the public forum and able to vote on it as a commission and then make that decision, in open and with the agreement of the majority, and then make, if that's what you decide. Is that helpful?
Yes, that is Trisha. Thank you.
Jason, when is the next Building and Fire Code Commission?
They are not regularly scheduled. It's all based on projects. They don't happen, but
Okay.
probably 2 times a year. So whenever the Schofield building comes back to us with what we've asked, we would schedule a meeting probably, within a month after we receive the additional materials. So yeah, there's no set time.
So if we're waiting till the December 4th meeting to approve a letter, that's going to be okay in terms of timeline.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
If I may also just jump in on one last thing, I think it will also be very helpful for the commission to review the memo that the city prepared, and then, as Jason noted, we'll discuss it. We'll present on it at the December meeting, and I think that will also help increase understanding about these various processes and how they work at the city.
Fascinating. Thank you very much.
And that memo is the memo, Jason, that you drafted recently and that Bart sent out a couple of weeks ago. Is that correct? About the demolition process?
Yeah, that's the one.
Nods.
Yes.
Great. Okay. And one other just small question. For the meeting that happened on the 30th, I know that was a public meeting. So is there a recording of it that we can listen to if we would like? Or is there are there minutes from that meeting if we would like?
There's an audio recording, no video, and we do, I think, do minutes as well, but there's definitely an audio recording. I'll see what I can do to get you that.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
And one more thing on this topic, not specific to the Schofield building, but so, the Academy and the Congregational Church 2 years ago, and now this, all sort of hanging their hat on the unreinforced brick masonry argument. And which is, that argument would take out half of downtown. So I don't know. I mean,
Jan.
I'm just saying that unreinforced brick masonry is an issue. And I would assume other preservation commissions have dealt with this in a way that we may not be aware of. So I'm wondering if it would be worthwhile to reach out to like DAP and just see maybe some strategies to sort of, I don't want to kind of discourage people from using that as an argument
What you're
about why
saying
they're
is
tearing
see how
their
places-
building.
Let's not set that precedent.
to see how places like Walla Walla handled this.
Right.
And I was just at a meeting with, people from all over the country that have unreinforced masonry buildings. And all of them, are standing and there are so many ways to take care of your brick building, but if you're going to neglect your building and just let it sit there, then it's going to fall down. And that's not the bricks problem, it's actually the owner. And, there's money out there. There is tons of money out there. I talked to a developer that would happily help the Schofields, happily help them, and any other person in Vancouver who wants to save their buildings. But nobody is reaching out to these people. We seem like we get the same developers from the same state that don't live here that just want to come and just bulldoze, and it's just sad. And so I would hate for that to be a precedent, like you're saying, Jan.
Yeah, I just want to get some information about how communities that, successfully have dealt with this issue, what they're doing. So
yeah, a lot of them got their buildings on the register, then they got the tax credit, then they got their seismic upgrades, and then they have it fully occupied and are making money off those buildings. But you have to go through the process. And if no buildings are going to get on the National Register, then you're not going to get your tax credits.
Your point's very well taken.
So it's really that next step that needs to occur. And I've been here for 4 years on this commission. I haven't seen one.
Well, maybe that's an item for discussion with next year's budget. You could use resources to help get the word out about that and increase awareness and motivate owners to do that, because the owners are the ones that need to actually put those properties on the listing. They're the only ones that have the ability to do that. The city's job, we have the balancing act between historic preservation, but also life safety. And when a building does get neglected to the point where you have numerous open code enforcement cases against it, we're forced to take action. We can't do nothing.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely believe in that. The only one other thing that I will say, and I guess I have to plug my computer in, it's not plugged in. Well, with a lot of the planners that I met, they feel that it is their, and I'm not saying that we don't do this, so don't think I'm saying that, Jason, because I don't believe that you're like this at all. But a lot of them said that they, especially the ones in like Seattle and Walla Walla, they feel like it's their part of their purpose, to enlighten these owners to the benefits of getting their buildings on the register. And that is how these buildings have kind of come into fruition. It isn't necessarily from this, super passionate preservation group that we are, part of. It's kind of like you're saying, it's like getting the word out there. And I really think our outreach committee has the tools to kind of run with that. And we do have that little bit of a surplus of a budget that we could, prepare for trying to kind of get that information out there. And that these things aren't a hindrance, that this is an avenue. It looks like the Climate Commitment Act is going to pass. And we're really going to have to step up our game, as a whole state, and helping our constituents right here in our county, I feel is, should be our number one priority in getting them up to speed so we can save some of these buildings.
So for future discussion.
Yeah.
Of course. Ongoing, years
I do
on,
think it's a really,
but I really do think the outreach committee, you guys really have a lot of really great ideas and a lot of information, and I think you guys can do some great things to help get this word out. And maybe even like we were talking with, we had a meeting with the county, and the county, Bart asked if they had table space, if they wanted some materials to put in their office, so when people come in to get their demolition, to talk about demolition or, whatever the permit is they're going for, that they have some resources, because at present they don't have any. They're always directed to our website. And if we know how old we are, some of these people are even older than us, and they would really appreciate, some material and not sent to the website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it is really an important piece, the whole entire idea of unreinforced masonry and how that shouldn't be a foregone conclusion, that therefore it's eligible for annihilation, is the word I'm going to use. That it is normal for a historic structure to be unreinforced masonry, and there are ways to care for it. All right. Well, thank you all very much for that discussion. And I will work with Andy and with John to meet and begin that draft, and then we'll share that with you all. All right. And the next item on our agenda are any subcommittee updates and announcements. So we'll begin with, on our list, we'll begin with, I have demolition on my agenda. I don't know if demolition has anything. If you do, now's your time.
Morgan?
Talked about it.
I met with Bart and we met with the county, and they were super receptive to implementing a similar plan that the city came up with. And we were going to get them some information, and Bart was going to talk with Jason, because Jason has most of that information. Like I never got the update, Jason, that we didn't get the format figured out, like with the pictures. Like that was news to me today. So hopefully we can figure that out with the county too.
Yeah. From the city standpoint, the process is up and running. We've updated our checklist and our application form so that when you apply for a demo permit, you're required to list the age of the building. If it's over that, of course, we double check the age of the building, and if it's over 50 years or older, we require photo documentation. And then we store the photos for a period of time, and then we give those photos to the Historical Museum. So it's up and running from our standpoint.
Good job.
Awesome.
Good job, Jason.
And Bart, did you get what you needed from Jason to get to the county, get with the county? I know you're real busy with this hearing.
I think we got the form and got it to them. So now it's got to close the loop on the review side of it. So thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, there's your update. That's why it's on the agenda.
Great, thank you. And then the next is for design review and our webpage. I'm happy to give the update, but I don't know if Jan or Susan would like to. Go ahead. I see a go ahead signal from Jan.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's the universal. Go ahead. So we are meeting. We met this week and we had a very good hour and a half picking back up on where we were at. And we're just making a lot of progress. We are working on revising the form for certificate of appropriateness application. And that's kind of a package deal. We have a lot of sections complete, but we want to get the application finalized. And then we can update that section. The next section will be nomination, and we'll be partnering with others that also have their own nominations separate from the county. And we'll be working on that section. And then we'll get into incentives and our mapping. Those are the next and final stages of our review and updates. And the mapping, I think, will be a really big and exciting part of our project, but we're working our way there because I think it's going to be it's going to be a lot of interesting things to come from that. And we'll need to really focus there once we get there. So making a lot of progress, just moving along. We have another meeting scheduled in the beginning of December. So
Well done, colleagues.
thanks, Andy. Thank you. And then the last is outreach, which we did hear a bit from already, but in case you didn't feel you had enough space to say what you wanted to say, go ahead. I think we're good, but just want to check. We good? Thumbs up?
I'll decline.
Okay. I think we have a good update on that. All right, excellent. Well, that concludes the updates and announcements for the subcommittees. And now we're at the conclusion of our meeting with the good of the order. And are there any comments for the good of the order?
I would like to thank everybody who took part in their committee pursuits, because those are extra voluntary actions. And I know very well that taking one's personal time to pursue initiatives that are of personal interest can be taxing. And so this commission has done an outstanding job of looking after every possible subcommittee, subcommittee, task force, groupthink, as well as serving the mission that we are engaged in. So thanks, everybody. It's been really great to watch.
Thanks, Andy. Anybody else? Well, I am going to do one good of the order as well. You know, November is a month, actually a month of Thanksgiving. And so I just want to say thank you to all the commissioners as well and all the staff for just being present, for being such great support to each other, and for really, like Andy said, going above and beyond a lot of what you're asked to do, and just really have been an amazing group to work with. And I definitely will take a moment this Thanksgiving and to think about you all and to just know that I am grateful for you and appreciate all of you. So thank you very much.
And Chair Bond, your service evidences that every meeting.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, thank you all so much. If there are no other comments, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Commissioner Gregg.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Dan.
You can stick around if you don't want to.
We'll
I think you guys
try.
want to stick around, huh? All right. All right. So moved. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thanks,
I
everybody.
will see
It
you
was a
next
great
time.
job.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great
you, staff.
Thanksgiving.
And thank you, staff.
You
Yeah,
too.
thank you, staff.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good one, everyone.